Getting an exceeds expectations rating can feel like a win, but in many companies, that rating does not mean you are about to be promoted. It means you have just proven that you are too useful exactly where you are. And that changes everything. Because we are not talking about a bad boss or bad luck. We are talking about a logic that works systematically, quietly, and very efficiently. A logic that uses your best results as an argument for not moving you, and somehow makes you feel recognized while doing it. If you want to understand the real rules of work, stay with me. Because this may be costing you money right now. Now look at how the trap works. You walk into your annual review. Your boss smiles. They remind you that you saved the project nobody wanted to touch, that you covered for 2 coworkers for months, that the team depends on you to keep things running. They tell you that you are a key part of the department. Then comes the number. The same small raise as always. No promotion, no title change. Just a polished sentence, a handshake, and a meeting that ends before you can ask the question you had prepared. You leave that room with a forced smile and the feeling that something does not add up. But because everything was said so kindly, you do not even know what to complain about or to whom. That is what makes this trap so efficient. It does not feel like a trap. It feels like recognition. And here is the sentence that sums up everything you are going to understand today. It gives you the feeling of recognition without giving you movement. It makes you feel seen without opening any doors. And meanwhile, it anchors you. There is something we could call the competence paradox. It works like this. The more efficient you are, the harder it becomes for you to move within the structure. Not because the company does not notice, but precisely because it notices too well. Your boss knows which part of the team's results depends on you. They know that if you are moved to another department, their metrics will suffer. They know replacing you would not be easy, fast, or cheap. And in a system where leaders are also evaluated based on what they produce, keeping you where you are is not negligence. It is a rational decision. The company does not need to hold a meeting to conspire against you. There is nobody in a room deliberately making that decision. What exists is an incentive system that rewards operational stability over people's mobility. And because you are so good at what you do, you became the center of that stability. Then comes the second layer of the problem, and this is the one that hurts the most day to day. When you become the indispensable person, you do not just get stuck in your role. You also start absorbing work that is not formally yours. Instead of opening a new position, companies redistribute those responsibilities among the people who already produce. And very often, that redistribution ends up on the plates of the people who deliver the most results. The internal logic is simple. If someone is already producing above expectations, then clearly they have extra capacity. Nobody says this out loud. It does not appear in any email. But you feel it in every meeting where they assign you one more thing, in every project that lands in your inbox without a real conversation about resources or recognition. What nobody calculates is the human cost of that assumed extra capacity. And then your next review arrives. Your reference point is no longer what was expected the previous year. Your reference point is what you achieved, the standard you set yourself. And now that becomes the new floor. The cycle works like this. You exceed expectations. That becomes the baseline expectation. You exceed expectations again, and the floor rises again. And somewhere in that cycle, your raise stops being proportional to what you produce. The exceptional becomes normal. And you keep delivering at the same level, but now it is no longer extraordinary. Now it is simply what is expected of you. That is the exact point where many people start feeling exhausted, without understanding why. It is not that they are giving up. It is that they are running at a pace the system has redefined as the starting point. And this is where recognition becomes a cage. Salary bands. Most corporate roles have an internal salary range with a minimum and a maximum. If you have been in the same role for years and have received annual increases, there is a strong chance you are already close to the top of that band. And once you hit the top, the system has no way to pay you more without formally acknowledging that your role has changed. That would require a reclassification process, which is not always part of the department's plans or the year's budget. What usually does exist are the ranges offered to external candidates. The market pays differently for someone coming in with the same level of experience you now have. That is not just a feeling, it is a documented gap. And it is one of the reasons why changing companies at certain points can create salary jumps that years of excellent reviews inside the same organization never produce. There is something they usually do not say in those career development workshops your company runs once a year, the ones that promise to teach you how to grow inside the organization. What those workshops rarely mention is that the system has a ceiling, and very often, that ceiling has nothing to do with your performance. It has to do with the budget band of the role you occupy and the political cost of admitting that you have been operating above it for a long time. This does not mean you should leave. It means you need to understand the board you're playing on, because there is something most high performers do instinctively, and it ends up working against them. They keep trying to prove their value internally to the same people, with the same metrics, inside the same system that has already decided where they fit. Internal visibility has a limit, and that limit is called institutional convenience. There is a huge difference between presenting your results as proof of your commitment to the company and presenting them as evidence of your market value. Think of it this way: saying, "I led the implementation of a new process for my team," sounds like internal loyalty. Saying, "I reduced delivery times by 40%, directly impacting the department's results," sounds like market value. They are the same facts, but one speaks inward, and the other speaks to any organization that needs exactly what you know how to do. The first narrative positions you as someone who stays. The second positions you as someone who could leave. And, interestingly, the second one is what creates real conversations about compensation. Building external visibility does not mean announcing that you are looking for a job. It means documenting your achievements in language any organization can read and value. It means keeping a network outside your company, not to use it immediately, but so it exists when you need it. The corporate system, like any system, responds to incentives. The incentive to retain you only activates when the company understands that losing you would have a real cost. And there is one last point, the quietest of all. Some people spend years being the best at what they do, receiving the highest ratings, being named on every important project, and still feeling a kind of stagnation they cannot explain. Because everything looks positive from the outside, they conclude that they are the problem, that something is missing in them, that they are not enough. No, that is not it. What happens in many of these cases is that they became so perfectly fitted to their place in the structure that the system has no incentive to move them. Not because they are not valuable, precisely because they are too valuable exactly where they are. And recognizing that is not resignation. It is the moment you stop blaming yourself for something that is not a personal failure. And from that place, you can choose more intelligently what move actually makes sense. A career is not built by being the hardest working person in the department. It is built by understanding the rules of the board and choosing intelligently when and where to move. So the next time they tell you that you exceeded expectations, do not just ask how much your raise will be. Ask which door is opening. Because if, after proving that much, no door opens, maybe that rating was not a reward. Maybe it was an elegant way of keeping you exactly where you were. If this video names something you have been living but could not explain, subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Here, we keep breaking down the rules of work nobody explains to you.